are doing something that many people are against. There's a real dichotomy out there about letting the quarantine be in the past, or do we stay in it? And as the virus continues to do what it naturally is supposed to, I wouldn't imagine that everyone will be satisfied.
Yeah. How do we start prepping for next time? Because this is not going to be the last type of virus that we face.
No, it's not. In fact, the virus is a kind of crisis which we've experienced before. We've had viruses, new viruses hit us. There are many types of crises, and I think being prepared means looking at crisis a little differently than Wall Street typically has in the past. We usually just say, crisis has hit, there's a reaction to it. The normal reaction is stay the course, don't change anything, and someday, maybe years later, your portfolio will come back. But all crises are not created equal, and giving some attention to that, education and training, means you can be better prepared.
All right, like how? Give an example.
Well, for example, a systemic crisis like the virus. We've seen new viruses before, and we didn't have a market correction occur because of them. So what's the difference? Well, it was quarantine. When quarantine happened, that's what caused the meltdown, especially since it was coupled with the problems in the energy sector. Well, that is a much different crisis, one that, you can see the end of very quickly in sight, as opposed to the great financial crisis in 2008, 2009. That was a much different scenario, and the end was not as obvious.
Thanks, Chris. Chris Mansky, financial advisor. Again, the upcoming book is called The Prepared Investor. 30 minutes after the hour on This Morning, America's First News. Everything begins with an idea, but how do you bring it to life? If your idea requires graphic design, copywriting, web programming, or some other skill, how do you locate that help? For the talent you need at a price you can afford, the answer is Fiverr. Fiverr connects you to a network of trusted freelance talent that's worked on some of the most influential brands in the world. Fiverr talents offer hundreds of digital services that you can search by service, deadline, price, reviews, and more. With Fiverr, there are no unknowns. You'll know exactly what you're paying for upfront with no negotiation. And Fiverr's talents are proven to ensure you get the expertise you need to bring your idea to life. And when you give Fiverr a try now, you'll save. Check out Fiverr.com today and use my code Gordon to receive 10% off your first order. It's so easy. Find all the digital services you need in one place at Fiverr.com, code Gordon. Again, that's Fiverr.com and the code Gordon. Try Fiverr today.
This is America's First News, your number one source for coronavirus facts and information. This Morning with Gordon Deal.
Thanks for being with us, and welcome into Wednesday, May 20th. Gordon Deal, Jennifer Kashenka, some of our top stories and headlines. Evacuation orders in parts of central Michigan after 2 dams collapsed. More states announce further reopenings. McDonald's workers in 20 cities plan to strike today, demanding more coronavirus protections. Sad news to pass along. We lost a friend to this program. Karen Blumenthal, former personal finance writer for the Wall Street Journal, has died of a heart attack at 61. She is also the wife of Scott McCartney, travel writer for the Journal. Scott is a frequent guest with us. We send our deepest condolences. In the avenue of ocean that stretches south from Miami to Cuba and northeast to the Bahamas, dozens of cruise ships sail back and forth every so often. They come into Florida ports to refuel and restock. Otherwise, they wait. Taylor Dalvin, business reporter at the Miami Herald, says the passengers are long gone, but about 100,000 crew members on board remain trapped at sea with little reliable information about when they can return to their families on land. Taylor, what's going on here?
Crew members are still stuck on ships, as the headline suggests. Cruising in the U.S. was canceled altogether on March 13th. We saw a scramble after that, obviously, to get ships back to port and to get passengers safely home. That effort took months, and during that time, crew members remained on board largely. Some were even new crew members were brought on board. It's important to remember that the industry thought they were shutting down for a month. They were prepared for a 30-day halt on operations. Well, mid-April came and went, and the CDC actually banned cruising through at least the end of July. And so now we're in a situation where more than 100,000 crew members are unable to get home or still waiting to be repatriated from these ships. Meanwhile, more are getting sick with COVID-19, and they tell me their mental health is really deteriorating.
All right, so for some of these folks, I would imagine they've exceeded the 14-day quarantine time, right? But that doesn't matter? That doesn't play in here?
Yeah, so there's a lot of issues going on. Countries have put in travel restrictions. Those range from, for example, in the U.S., if companies want to disembark crew in the U.S., they have to transport them home using private transportation. So that means a charter flight or a private bus or car. And then the extreme travel restriction is countries that are not allowing any foreign nationals to be repatriated yet. So for all the nationalities of people who work on cruise ships, the companies are having to deal with these restrictions for all of them and navigate the logistics there. There are crew members who have been in their cabins for more than 14 days, for more than a month, and unable to leave in a sort of quarantine isolation situation. But yeah, it's difficult. I know the companies are working incredibly hard on this, but it's also really expensive for them to meet the demands of these governments who are, understandably looking out for the health and safety of people in their countries and also for their health system infrastructure. So that's leaving these more than 100,000 people in limbo. My
goodness. How much time have some of these crew members spent? Like, who's been on the longest? Is there a particular ship, for example?
Well, they've all been, the industry shut down on March 13th. So more than 2 months, these crew members have been stuck and haven't touched land.
We're speaking with Taylor Dolvin, business reporter at the Miami Herald. She's got a fascinating piece entitled No Information, No Way Off. 100,000 crew members remain in cruise ship limbo for months. How about the mental health of some of these folks? You referenced it earlier.
Yeah, crew members tell me they're growing increasingly desperate. Every time they're told of a date they'll be flying home or a plan to get them home, that plan has fell through. And it really hurts their mental health, and just remaining, not being on land, remaining sometimes in their rooms isolated, if not just remaining on these ships is really difficult. Many of them aren't being paid. If they are being paid, it's not their regular salary, and so they're worried, about their families and how they'll support them. And they're just not able to leave. They just have no control over the situation. So I would say just increasingly desperate and hopeless.
Boy, have some of the ships been completely free of coronavirus at this point?
Yes. So our reporting, we are tracking the number of coronavirus cases linked to cruise ships, and we found that a little over 20% of the global cruise fleet has been affected by the virus. So that leaves the rest that we haven't found any cases for those ships.
That's some staggering numbers. Taylor Dolvin, business reporter at the Miami Herald. 20 minutes now in front of the hour. On This Morning, America's First News. Thanks for spending time with us. Welcome into Wednesday. It's time now for the Mic Drop with this morning's Mike Gavin.
Good morning. Oh, we've seen no shortage of bored people attempting outlandish feats during the pandemic, with the Guinness Record Book practically being rewritten with entries from 2020. Now a North Carolina track coach inspired by another touchstone event from this year has apparently set another incredible mark. Dylan Sorensen, who coaches the long-distance runners at UNC, said he was inspired by the Michael Jordan ESPN documentary The Last Dance to do something special for his 30th birthday. Sorensen celebrated his birthday Friday by buying a basketball and taking it to the asphalt track at a Chapel Hill middle school. The running coach donned a Michael Jordan number 23 basketball jersey and ran a mile while dribbling the ball in 4 minutes 37 seconds, which if it stands would shatter the previous record of 4 minutes 52 seconds. Sorensen filmed his run, but it was unclear whether there would be sufficient evidence for the coach to get a Guinness World Record for his feat.
Man.
4 minutes and 37 seconds. I mean, I couldn't even come within, 2.5 minutes of that, or 2 minutes of that at least.
Without dribbling a ball.
Yeah, without dribbling a ball, yeah. There was a time, remember, when like the 4-minute mile, that was the big, now you can just dribble a ball 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and it's apparently not a big deal. What I love most about this as a potential record, and I hope he gets the record, is that it wasn't something he trained for like months and months and months. And, he just picked this, I'm going to stop by Dick's and pick up a basketball and just see what happens, and he winds up, breaking a record. That's pretty cool.
Well, I wonder how many dribbles per lap he did.
Yeah.
Because he's flying.
Yeah, I mean, you have to dribble that pretty far out in front of you, obviously. So that takes some skill in and of itself. And on an asphalt track, we're not talking about a hardwood floor.
Right.
An asphalt track you're dribbling a basketball on. That's incredible.
So at his top speed, if you were to put him on a hardwood basketball floor, let's say it was a fast break.
Right.
Like, how quickly could he conduct the fast break? What, 2 dribbles maybe to go end to end or something like that? Like at his top speed?
Maybe this is an untapped resource for the NBA. Track runners, right?
That's remarkable.
Come out on fast breaks.
The coordination is amazing.
And we knew, Gordon, all those baked goods had to go somewhere. A recent survey of fitness-focused Americans has pretty much confirmed that, yes, we're all packing on a few pounds during our extended coronavirus quarantines, thanks in part to our increased alcohol and bread consumption. The survey polled 2,000 Americans on their current exercise and diet habits, ultimately determining that the average American has gained about 5 pounds. The biggest contributing factors include the increased consumption of both alcohol and carby foods like baked goods and pastas. Additionally, 65% of those polled admitted to taking a break from their usual exercise regimens, and on average, we think it'll take about 2 months before we can return to our pre-pandemic body once all the restrictions are lifted. I would say 5 pounds sounds about right for me.
Okay.
That's right about the same level there.
I'm going to connect your 2 stories.
Okay.
Personally.
Yes.
So yesterday, I happened to watch episode 1 of The Last Dance.
Okay.
While sipping a gin and tonic and eating chips. See? How about that?
So you were inspired not to go run a mile in 4 minutes and 37 seconds, but to sip wine and eat chips.
Half a mile in 4 minutes and 37 seconds is nice. It's a nice little pace.
Sure. I don't think Guinness will come knocking on your door, though.
Holy cow. That's unbelievable. Well, referencing your last story, chunks, hunks, and drunks. That's who's emerging from the pandemic. Chunks, like people who've gained weight. The hunks who are working out.
The
and
pandemic story.
13 minutes in front of the hour. Even in tough times, you want to try to look your best, even if it's just from the waist up for those video chats. So when it comes to your facial hair, Harry's has you covered, bringing you incredibly high-quality blades at factory direct prices, just $2 per blade. Now, when it comes to my facial hair, I'm typically a goatee guy, but lately I've been using these times of home quarantine to experiment with a full beard. This has allowed the precision trimmer blade on my Harry's razor to take center stage. I use it to make sure my new beard is looking its best. Now you can keep your face looking smooth too, or your beard looking clean with a Harry's trial set delivered right to your doorstep. Just go to harrys.com/Gordon to order yours. And get this, to help support those who need it the most right now, Harry's is donating $1 million worth of shaving supplies to hospitals across the U.S. so you can feel good about looking good. Listeners of our show can redeem their Harry's trial set at harrys.com/Gordon. You'll get a weighted ergonomic handle for a firm grip, a 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel with aloe to keep your skin hydrated, and a travel blade cover to keep your razor dry and easy to grab on the go. Go to harrys.com/Gordon to start shaving better today. Thanks for being with us. New research from the Society for Human Resource Management and Oxford Economics says in total, U.S. workers have lost $1.3 trillion in income, amounting to an average loss of nearly $8,900 per worker. About 20% of that loss represents workers who remain employed. The study found these workers either accepted a lower pay or reduced hours. The report suggests that job losses alone are not a complete account of COVID-19's impact on workers. Meanwhile, separate research by the Urban Institute finds that for the 36 million Americans who have lost their jobs, half are likely to accept 16% lower pay once they land a new job. The Urban Institute is a progressive think tank based in Washington, D.C. That percentage increases with age. For example, workers between the ages of 50 and 61 on average are likely to accept a 23% pay cut upon reemployment. It's 8 minutes now in front of the hour on This Morning. Once again, here's Jennifer Kashenka.
And now, the 3 big things you need to know. Number 1.
The Senate Banking Committee has taken its first look at spending under the massive CARES Act. Fed Chair Jerome Powell and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin were pressed by senators about their involvement in specific aspects of the $2